Today, we're heading high into the Himalayas. But we're not just looking at the amazing scenery. Nope. This explainer is all about something just as epic, the incredible oral traditions of the Kumaon region. We're going to explore some fantastic tales, and, maybe even more importantly, we're going to get to know the storytellers themselves and the world they lived in. So, before we dive into all the legends of heroes and demons, you've got to meet the keepers of these tales. This right here is Baga Herkia, one of the actual bards whose voice is captured in this collection. And you have to understand, these weren't just people telling stories for fun. They were living libraries, the guardians of an entire culture's history and soul. So, where exactly are we? This map gives you a sense of our setting, Kumaon and West Nepal. This is a rugged, absolutely beautiful part of the world where folklore isn't just entertainment. It's woven into the fabric of life itself, as much a part of the landscape as the mountains. Now, what's so fascinating about this tradition is that, for centuries, nothing was written down. Think about that. These stories were performances, passed from one generation to the next by professional bards who dedicated their entire lives to the craft. And among the most important of these bards were the Herkias. Their role went way beyond simple entertainment. I mean, imagine this. They were family historians, spiritual advisors, and even battlefield hype men, using their songs to inspire warriors. They were absolutely essential to society. And get this, the tradition itself was incredibly diverse. On the left, you've got a performer from a lower caste, Gopidas, playing his drum all by himself. But on the right, you see a high caste bard, Mohan Singh, performing with a whole crew. So what does that tell you? It means these stories were for everyone, and the storytellers came from all walks of life.
Okay, so you're probably asking where and when would you actually get to hear one of these epic tales? Well, the settings were just as varied and dramatic as the stories themselves. Let's dig into that.
The performances really fell into two big categories. On one side, you have these deeply religious ceremonies, where the whole point was to summon spirits or even put someone into a trance. And on the other side, you had general entertainment, thrilling stories for kings in their palaces, pump-up songs for warriors, or just tales shared at a village get-together. Let's take a closer look at those really intense religious ceremonies. What you're seeing here is the very start of a possession ritual. The bard's music and story aren't just for listening. They are a functional tool designed specifically to open a channel to the spirit world through that medium in the white shawl.
And this is the powerful moment it all leads to. The medium collapses, believed to be possessed by ancestral ghosts or even gods. The storytelling has literally become a bridge between worlds, a real physical interaction with the supernatural. This isn't just folklore. For them, it's a living faith.
And after all that intensity, the ceremony would wrap up with the creation of a shrine and offerings like this one. It's the perfect illustration of that deep, practical connection between the stories they told, the rituals they performed, and the daily beliefs of the people. It was all about appeasing the very spirits the tale had just brought to life. Okay, so we've met the storytellers and seen where they perform. Now for the really fun part. What were the stories actually about? Well, these bards had a massive repertoire of tales, covering everything from how the world was made to the incredible deeds of legendary heroes. You could say the blockbusters of their day were the heroic ballads. These were epic poems, sometimes taking days to recite, that celebrated the courage, the tragedies, and the adventures of local kings and warriors. Their names still echo through the region today. And boy, were these stories packed with drama. Just listen to this quote. It's from a curse that gets put on a victorious family. It just perfectly captures the high stakes and the themes they loved: honor, revenge, destiny, and this idea that a huge victory can come with a terrible, generation-spanning price. But hey, it wasn't all epic battles and tragic family curses. The folklore is also full of clever fables, amazing animal stories, and tales that were really designed to teach you valuable lessons about life. Stories like The Three Fools or The Foxes and the Elephant, these basically worked like morality plays. They used the actions of silly people or really clever animals, or wise old hermits, to explore human nature and teach the listeners about wisdom, cunning, and, well, foolishness. Oh, I love this example. In a story called The Precious Counsel, a young man actually buys these 4 simple rules from a wise man. And then the rest of the story shows him how following each piece of advice literally saves his life.
It's such a brilliant example of how this folklore wraps incredibly practical wisdom in a story that's easy to remember.
And of course, you can't have folklore from the Himalayas without getting into the spooky stuff, right? The mountains are just teeming with stories of ghosts, mischievous fairies, and some seriously powerful demons.
And that brings us to this fascinating and pretty common challenge for the heroes in these tales. I mean, think about it. How do you possibly defeat an immortal demon, especially when his life force isn't even inside of him?
Well, the secret lies in this absolutely wild concept, the external soul. The idea is that a demon or a sorcerer hides their life force in a completely separate object. This creates a magical weakness, a kind of puzzle that the hero has to solve to even have a chance.
And check out just how elaborate these puzzles could be. The hero's quest isn't just about being strong, it's about figuring out the secret. They have to get through 6 locked rooms, to find a cage, to get to a parrot, to then find the beetle that holds the demon's soul. It's a total adventure of wits.
So why does all of this matter today? Why is a collection like this so incredibly important? Well, because what we're looking at here is basically a time capsule of a world that's slowly fading away.
The thing is, this collection, first put together way back in 1935, is one of the only records we have for a lot of these specific stories. These tales were almost never written down. So as the old bards passed away, a huge part of this tradition just vanished with them, which makes this book one of the last true echoes of their voices.
And here's the big takeaway. Studying folklore isn't just about enjoying cool old stories. It's about understanding the very DNA of a culture. The legends, the songs, the beliefs of the past, that's the foundation for the books, the laws, and the societies of today.
You know, looking at this incredible image of a bard, lost in his performance, it really leaves you with a final thought. We've seen how essential these storytellers were to their world. So it makes you wonder, what are the essential stories of our own time? And who are the modern bards making sure those stories survive for the next generation?